Oh man, yeah. What a tune. That is the Apogee intro theme. Now that's the sound of my childhood, an era of gaming which for me spanned just under a decade, starting from the early 90s. Games were simpler back then. Cinematics were as well, but no doubt I feel that they hold their charm to this day. Short videos, in fact I'm not even sure if you can call them videos, more like GIFs with sound attached. Today I would like to talk to you about some of the best DOS games that I played last week. I would like to start off with Raptor. It's a top-down plane shooter where you blow up everything, which never seems to get old. Quite interesting, the character you play looks like Riker, and the shop merchant looks like Picard from Star Trek, perhaps because that was quite popular at the time as well. This top-down shooter formula has been replicated multiple times, but for me, the execution of it, that is what Raptor has so smooth. Blow up everything, planes, boats, buildings, and reach the end of the level and blow up the boss. In between levels you get to purchase new equipment, new weapons, new shields, and then move on to the next mission. And somehow, even though that may sound repetitive, the game doesn't seem to feel that way. I did wonder why there is a fire button in this game, because essentially you just want to press down on it and never let go. The mixture of shooting, dodging certainly keeps it all exciting, and the game has a really nice difficulty curve that increases suitably to match the new and powerful lasers, missiles and bombs you will acquire. It was a great addition to the wonderful shareware library that Apogee had, where they gave you the first episode to play and share. Despite the game being near on 25 years now, I feel like the graphics still live up well, and same with the sounds. Death Rally. That's right. Some games used to be from a top-down perspective, racing around a track. This one again, a game which seems like it would feel repetitive, but it doesn't seem to be, even though the formula is race, upgrade, and race again. A car racing game where you have a few extra features to your arsenal, such as guns, mines, turbo boosters and pickups, with pumping music as you go around each round. I remember for years I used the main boss of the game, the Adversary, as my online nickname, as I enjoyed the game so much. You use all the upgrades to your cars, wheels, engine and handling, and progress through the races. It always amused me with the little name drops or obvious references that the competitors had. Of course there's Duke Nukem, there's Clint West, Liz Arden, and more. And things like that, the humorous touches, which are the small things which make this game fun. And speaking of Duke Nukem, we have Duke Nukem 2. Back then, all the number 2s were great. Yeah, I know exactly what I said. Doom 2, Settlers 2, Age of Empires 2. There were so many that were better on the sequel, and Duke Nukem was no exception. Action side-scroller that felt so fast-paced. Up, down, left, right, control to jump, alt to fire, and that's it, get in there, blast everything. Yeah, blast everything. Actually, a common theme in these games from the 90s as well, when I think about it. You collect points, and I think that was also another feature of the games at this time, that you pick up a whole heap of items for a scoreboard that is totally non-important for progress of the story, but just bragging rights. You play as Duke in the far future of 1998, where he's kidnapped by the aliens to use his brain to take over Earth. However, he manages to break free to save the world. He can pick up new weapons, new lasers, rockets, get rapid fire. He can also drink soda for help. While in game, he is completely silent. The intro really goes to set up his character, where he is kidnapped while doing a show on his latest book, Why I'm So Great, and that one line completely kicks off his personality to the confident, wisecracking action hero that we know. Jazz Jackrabbit. I remember thinking Jazz as the answer, the PC answer to Sonic the Hedgehog, incorporating a fast-moving hero or a platforming title where I always felt if I wasn't running at full speed, then I was playing the game wrong. You can pick up a whole heap of power-ups for different weapons, items for score, and there's even a bonus third-person view running section to the game for more point collection, which playing it today felt quite wonky to do. Didn't even know at the time, but Jazz is set in a fantasy world based on the fable Tortoise and the Hare. A Jackrabbit princess is kidnapped by an evil tortoise called Devonshire, and Jazz has to explore different planets to find clues on where she is. Ah yes, there was a lot of kidnappings in the early 90s. Jazz would spawn a sequel, Jazz Jackrabbit 2, which also met with many positive reviews. Stunts. I was really into car racing games when I was younger, and Stunts was quite a different car racing game in comparison to others. It allowed for some wacky types of movements of the car which simply wasn't allowed by other car racers at the time. And the graphics aren't flash, and that's not due to age. I remember at the time thinking the graphics looked pretty simplistic. However, the degree of movement and what I thought at the time was unique gameplay was a real highlight. In essence, you race against AI in a lap around a map and try to complete it without crashing. There are many features such as loops, jumps and corkscrews. It also featured replays, different camera angles, and a map editor to make your own map and have others play them. I mean, for a game that was made in 1990, where 3D was still in its infancy, it was pretty cool. It had pretty big hits to the frames per second, but you still felt a sense of speed and control over the vehicle, and I remember really enjoying this title. And now, Magic Carpet. If any game really deserved a reboot, it would have to be Magic Carpet, made by Bullfrog in 1994, where you play in the battling world of wizards who have unleashed creatures across the world in an attempt to gain what is known as mana. Your role as an apprentice to a powerful wizard is to try and restore what is known as equilibrium by collecting mana which is scattered around the world and inhabited in these creatures. Your arsenal spells include Fireball, Lightning Bolts, Meteor. Also you would have utility spells such as Haste, Shield and Heal. And unique for the time, you can use your spells to change the landscape, forming craters, fissures in the land. The concepts which actually in this game are probably quite still relevant in today's standards of making an exciting game. The graphics aren't too bad, but probably what hasn't aged very well is the draw distance. In this game you would really need to use the map because you can't see that very far. What you can still see is serviceable, and the skybox helps in a way to hide the fact that the vision is limited in a time where computer processing power wasn't fast enough. It would be great to see a remake which would open up and show you how much of the landscape there was in this game. You build castles, fight other wizards, and battle a host of creatures such as the ground worms, dragons, genies, krakens and all-powerful wyvern. SimCity 2000. This game certainly had a charm in which in some ways is unexplainable. A lot of ways it was as if you were building a piece of art rather than playing a game. Really, the length of the game could be as short or as long as you wanted to play it. Certainly as a youngin', that was precisely what I was interested in doing, was making a nice looking city as opposed to the actual business side of things. Yeah, I don't think I ever had been successful on the business side to actually make a city which was profitable. But I was to play this game as an adult. I think that is the scope I would be more interested in. At the very start of the game, you start with making a power plant, making industrial zones, commercial zones, residential, and just start to watch things grow like a garden. You add in police stations, fire stations, parks and zoos as people demand them, and go around making the city as you see fit. Maxis had quite a few different titles. All of these sim games such as Sim Ant, Sim Earth, Sim Farm, but I think SimCity 2000 was the real standout, which carried on the charm that started with the original. There isn't really a game completion as such, but really you could just expand to the whole map And I believe there's something that happens at the year 2050 and onwards. There are disasters which you have to deal with from time to time, such as floods and fires. You can also choose to inflict these disasters on your own city, if you so feel the urge to do so, and I quite often did that when I had enough of the city I was building and just wanted to destroy everything. I'm such a nice person, aren't I? It was certainly a trip down memory lane. I hope you enjoyed watching these. Hope these were some games you might have remembered as well, or perhaps new games you might be interested in exploring. Thanks for watching.